Good evening. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 ex sequitur, adequate notification of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the Courier News and posting notice in the Board of Education Administrative Building and District Schools and filing notice with the Borough Clerk. I hereby call to order the Organization Public Meeting Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, in the Lincoln Middle School Cafetorium, 400 Dunellen Avenue, at 7 p.m. This meeting is broadcast live. For details, check the district website. We'll move on to roll call. Mr. Anderson?
Present.
Mrs. Condit?
Present.
Dr. Gendrano?
Present.
Mrs. Howard? Sorry. Mr. Satinoy?
Present.
Ms. Schimpf is absent. Mrs. Shep?
Present.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
We have a quorum. Okay, at this time we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. The flag is to my right, your left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you please remain standing for a moment of reflection and respect for our troops serving throughout the world, our troops who have served, and our troops who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of our United States of America. Thank you. Okay, at this time I'd like to announce the results of our election in November. So returning to the board for a 3-year term, Mrs. Guadalupe Condit with 1,476 votes. Also returning to the board for a 3-year term, Mr. Wilfred Satinoy with 1,107 votes. And joining the board for the first time, Ms. Sarah Ibeck with 1,293 votes. Welcome. And it is time to administer to the oath for those 3 newly elected board members. We'll do the returning members first, and then we'll bring Mrs. Ibeck up. So I'm going to ask Mr. Satinoy and Mrs. Condit to repeat after me. I say your name.
Guadalupe Condit.
Wilfred Satinoy.
Well done. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Wilfred Satinoy,
Guadalupe Condit.
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
that
That I
I
possess the qualifications
possess the
prescribed by
qualifications
law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the office of member of the Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter
and that I am not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
pursuant to
RS
19,
dash 41.
good enough, :4-1,
:4-1,
nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or offense
or offense
listed in NJSA
listed in NJSA
18A:
18A:
:12-1,
:12-1,
and that I will faithfully
and that I
and
will faithfully
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and
justly
justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Yay, welcome back. You want me up there? Hello.
Hello?
Can you hear us, Dave? Hello? Okay. Repeat after me. I,
I,
state your name,
Sarah Ibach,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States and this state,
in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, state your name,
I, Sarah Ibach,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for office of the Board of Education,
that I am not disqualified
that I'm not disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to RS
pursuant to RS
19:4-1,
19:4-1,
nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or offense
or offense
listed in NJSA
listed in NJSA
18A:12-1,
18A:12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of that office
of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
This is for you. All right. And we now have a full board again. Yay. And welcome, Shonda. Oops. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have election of officers. So first, we're going to take nominations for the office of President of the Board of Education. Does anyone have anyone they wish to nominate?
I nominate Dr. Isaias Noel Gendrano for president.
We have a nomination for Dr. Gendrano. Are there any other nominations? Okay. In that case, we will take a vote. So we'll do this by roll call, and you're going to vote for either a yes or a no vote for Dr. Gendrano. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Mrs. Ibeck?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mr. Sa'anoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
and we now have a president. And here you go.
Thank you. So I take over at this point, right?
It's all yours.
Okay. So moving on to the second part of that, election of officers for the vice president, similar to what we did for the president, looking for a nomination for the role of vice president to the Board of Education.
I nominate Lisa Howard.
Second.
Okay, Lisa Howard has been nominated. Any other nominations? Okay, then we will go ahead and proceed. Mr. Pepe, could you please call the roll to, how do we say it?
We're voting
Vote for-
for the nominee, Mrs. Howard.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Condit,
Yes.
Mrs. Ibach,
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano,
Yes.
Mr. Sa-Anoy,
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf,
Yes.
Mrs. Shep,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
We have a vice president.
Okay, wonderful. Moving on to item number 7 on the agenda. So item 7 talks about the establishment of regular meeting dates. So these are the dates that we've talked about previously, and this vote would be to basically ratify that. So may I have a motion to approve item 7?
Motion to approve 7.
Second.
Open for questions, comments? Last call. Okay. Mr. Pepe, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Condit,
Yes.
Mrs. Ibach,
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano,
Yes.
Mr. Sa-Anoy,
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf,
Yes.
Mrs. Shep,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Awesome, thank you. Moving on to item number 8, board appointments. If it's okay at this time, I'd like to table this to the next meeting. That's okay? For our next meeting on the 28th? Right? Yeah.
Postpone to a future meeting.
Postpone to a future meeting, yes.
So you have to make a motion? to
Yes.
Postpone?
So make a motion to, looking for a motion to postpone to a future meeting?
Move to postpone
Second.
8.
Seconded.
Okay, questions, thoughts?
I would just say that for the committees, we do need some sort of structure
Yes.
for this month's meetings. So as long as there's appropriate communication regarding who will be sitting on those committees.
Absolutely. So I think the intent is to have a little bit of discussion before.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we need a vote.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Pepe, could you please call the roll?
All right, this is a vote to postpone item 8 to a future meeting. Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Condit,
Yes.
Mrs. Ibach,
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano,
Yes.
Mr. Sa-Anoy,
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf,
Yes.
Mrs. Shep,
Yes.
and Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Motion's postponed.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9. So item 9 is adopting the Board of Members, NJ School Board Members Code of Ethics. So looking for a motion to approve 9.
Move to approve the 9 Code of Ethics.
Second. Second.
Okay, so open for questions or comments. I was going to say, it's not, we didn't change any wording here. It's all the same as last year. So, okay. Mr. Pepe, could you please call the roll?
Excuse me, Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Condit,
Yes.
Ms. Ibach,
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano,
Yes.
Mr. Sa-Anoy,
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf,
Yes.
Mrs. Shep,
Yes.
and Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, wonderful. All right, so moving on to item number 10, President's Remarks. I'll keep this brief. First, I'll just say Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2025. Second, I'd like to welcome Ms. Ibach. Thank you. Welcome. And lastly, I would just like to say thank you for putting your trust in me for another year to serve as the President of the Board of Education. Looking forward to a great year and working with you all. And we've got a lot of work to do, but I think we've got a great team. We're going to do great things. So with that, Mr. Ross, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gendrano. So first of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Gendrano and Ms. Howard for their selection in leadership roles. They've been excellent over the last number of years. I'm definitely excited to be working with you as well as Mrs. Howard again. So congratulations. And of course, I want to welcome as well Ms. Ibach. So for those of you that don't know, Ms. Ibach is an LCSW. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She has a background in psychology. Obviously, this is a wonderful skill set to have as we continue to talk about student wellness and SEL and those types of things. And she currently works at Senior Care Therapy, which is where she's part of a team of clinical psychologists and social workers who provide therapeutic solutions to the geriatric population. So doing great work for people, and obviously appreciate your interest in being on the board, and congratulations on making it here. So Happy New Year to everyone. I'll keep this relatively short. We have obviously another meeting later in the month, and we did just have a meeting a couple of weeks ago. But this is a new board cycle. I'm very, very excited about the work ahead. We have 6 months of this school year left, and we are really in very good shape in terms of the work that we've put together for this year. In terms of planning, we've been working with Studer Education Consulting Group, and obviously we've talked about the district goals and the goal setting that we've put in place. I will be presenting a district goal mid-year update at the end of January, which I've done in the last couple of years as well, just to sort of round out and update the board and the public on those items. We've also begun the budgeting process for the 25-26 school year. We will not receive state aid numbers until late February or early March. That's what we anticipate. But we have had the internal process has been going now for about a month and a half, and we will shortly be meeting with all of the budget managers to discuss their requests and the types of things that folks are looking for. Obviously, we are keeping our goals tight and really just trying to focus on the same sorts of things from year to year. And so obviously we'll provide updates to the public on that through a couple of presentations and to the board as we go. And then lastly, in addition to the mid-year district goals update, we anticipate having the audit presentation at our next upcoming meeting, and that's the final audit for the 23-24 school year. And at that time, we'll get to hear from Anthony Ardito about our finances, the state of our finances, the state of our capital reserve, which, as we know, is very important given the construction project that we have coming up. And so he'll be here to answer questions and present information to the public and to the board. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Gendrano.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ross. Okay, moving on to item 12, public comments on agenda items only. So the board invites public comments on agenda items only from members of our community at this time. In accordance with Board Policy 0167, public comment sections are intended to provide an opportunity for members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The board and administration will be taking notes during public comment, but will not provide substantive responses to questions or concerns raised by individual speakers. If necessary, the superintendent may provide a brief response after the entire public comment period is completed. The board appreciates and welcomes feedback from the community, but is not at liberty to engage in a back-and-forth dialogue with members of the public during this portion of the meeting. Prior to making your public comment, please state your name and municipality. Please note that all statements must be directed to the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone at this time if you would like to make comments on agenda items only.
Good evening, Faith Thompson, Dunellen resident.
I just wanted to provide some context to item 16C on the agenda. Diana Staris and I are both on the board of the Dunellen Municipal Alliance, and last February we completed training in the Botvin Life Skills Program, and we are now both certified to teach this course to students. Starting in January, the Dunellen Municipal Alliance would like to offer this life skills program for third graders in Faber School Aftercare. This program will be held every Wednesday afternoon for 8 weeks. Through fun activities and games, students will learn skills that will help improve self-esteem, develop problem-solving skills, learn about nonverbal communication, help with decision-making skills, and how to cope with stress. Students will also learn social skills such as overcoming shyness, communicating clearly, building friendships, and how to get along with others. Diana Staris and I have been working with Mr. Appello, the aftercare coordinator, and if approved this evening, he will send out a message to the parents that will include the following information, explaining what we'll do, including play games, learn to feel good about ourselves, develop problem-solving skills, learn how to handle stress, as well as skills your child will gain, including social skills to overcome shyness, how to speak clearly, how to make friends and get along with others. We thank you for considering this program for Faber School Aftercare.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Any other comments on agenda items only at this time? Last call? Okay. Moving along to item number 13. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Thompson, I just want to thank you and Ms. Staris for your support of the district. Mr. Appello brought this idea to me. I had had some initial conversations, I think, around Veterans Day or thereabouts really early, but he brought this idea to me. It's a wonderful idea. It seems like the program is really wonderful as well. As you know, the district, we're very appreciative of your willingness to support students in the aftercare program in this way. And I do also want to thank Mr. Appello for his advocacy on your behalf. I know that he and the two of you had very good, professional, productive conversations, and so he represented those very well, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you.
I was actually going to save it till later, but since we're here. Yeah. So, Ms. Thompson, I wanted to say I was very excited when I saw on the agenda, looking at the website, going through all the things. It was really exciting to see. Really looking forward to seeing how this progresses. I think it's going to be great. Okay. Moving on to item number 13, board policy and operations reorganizations. So in this section, we are basically restarting all of our things to get us going as a board for the year. So at this time, rather than, we're going to go through looking for a motion to approve 13A through U as a block.
Approve 13A through U.
Second.
Okay, open for questions or comments?
I'd just like to comment that letter S, the school safety specialist, I'm just going to recommend that upon approval of item S that we modify that to Kyler Tobin from Jason Marenberg, and that is on page 9.
Yes.
So if we could just amend the motion to reflect that recommendation.
Move to amend. What number? 13? S? S.
S, that one item, yeah.
15, line item 15, I think.
13.
Second.
Okay. Okay, so we have that motion on the table with the correction in S. I did want to just bring out to, I know we discussed this in committee previously, item G, the addition of Blue Foundry, which is different from last year. Any other comments, questions?
Do you have a question? Just
Please go ahead.
for the
change for,
Can you go into
Item
the,
S?
can you go into the mic, please?
yeah, for the change to item S, or letter S, is that just a title change, or the reasoning for the change is that not Jason's role in there?
So it will be his role. Mr. Tobin is going to continue in the role for a short time, and we do anticipate Mr. Marenberg taking up that responsibility in
Okay.
due course of time.
Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll?
Okay, so we're voting on items A through U with the amendment to item S.
That's correct.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Ms. Ibach?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Motion as amended passes.
All right, wonderful. Moving on to item number 14, education action items. Looking to approve items 14A and B. Looking for motion to approve items 14A through B, A and B, excuse me.
Approve 14A and B?
Second.
Open for questions or comments? I was just going to ask if I could join the math league so that I could go to iPlay, because that sounds like a lot of fun. So, questions, comments, anything before we go vote? Okay. Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Ms. Ibach?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Okay, moving on to item number 15, personnel action items. Looking to approve 15A through E as a block.
Approve 15A through E?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, open for questions or comments?
There is an amendment in item B that needs to be read into the record, and I actually didn't remember to print it. So I'm going to read it off my phone. First of all, I want to say thank you to the DEA for their partnership in these conversations. There are two sidebars with the DEA that are on the agenda for tonight. B is related to a language change, which came after the completion of the collective bargaining agreement, the ratification, which provides some clarity to the work schedule for 10-month secretaries and administrative assistants. Item C is the addition of a new extracurricular position for the district, and we will have some other, we anticipate some additional sidebars as well for other new extracurricular positions. In the meantime, there was a sentence that was left off of the amended version, which is the attached version. Oh, actually, I can look it up here. So in the amended version of the language change sidebar, the last sentence of the existing language was left off inadvertently. That last sentence states, all school administrative assistants employed on a 10-month contract shall comply with the school calendar with regard to holidays and recess of school. That sentence should not have been omitted, and so in the amended new language, that sentence should just be added to the end so that it still is maintained in the CBA. Okay? So any questions on that? Was that clear? Yeah? Okay. All right, thank you. So yes, I'd like to make that amendment.
Okay, so looking for a motion for the, 14, 15A through E with the stated amendment.
Question?
Not yet. Still got to get the motion through. Looking for a motion to approve 15A through E with the amendment Mr. Ross just read in.
Approve 15A through E, including the amendment.
15, we have a motion and a second already.
Oh, we did? But then we had an amendment.
Wait. Yeah.
There was a clarification.
Yeah, I'm going to use the phrase clarification on that.
Okay.
It's an addition. It's not really, we don't need to amend the motion because there's just clarification on the language.
Okay.
So we have the motion on the floor for items A through E. We can go ahead with any more discussion or the vote.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yes, will Mr. Marenberg be able to go on 1-9?
No, but, yeah, I mean, we could take that off, or we could just leave it on. It's no cost and sort of, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? I did want to just ask Mr. Ross, is that number 4 what I think it is?
Number 4 is approval for, yes, for my, so I was invited by the Department of Education to participate in an evaluation working group. It's about 15 people. This is part of the governor's task force to review evaluation framework and teacher evaluation across the state. And the guidance from the original group that was put together by the governor's task force was to create a working group. And I am one of, I think, 4 or 5 superintendents in the state, as well as representatives of NJPSA and NJEA and AFT and other associations who will be participating in it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Last call, questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Pepe, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Ms. Ibeck?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. And congrats again. All right, moving on to item number 16, operations action items. Looking for a motion to approve 16 A, B, and C as a block.
Move to pass item 16A through C as a block.
Second.
Open for questions or comments? And just to note, as Ms. Thompson had indicated earlier, the item 16C is the Botvian life skills. Questions, comments? Last call? Okay. Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson? Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Ms. Ibeck?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, wonderful. I think we might set a new record tonight. Oh, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Moving on to item number 17, old business. Is there any old business we want to bring back up?
I'll just mention that I intend to recommend a final district calendar for the 25-26 school year at our next meeting, so January 28th. I did receive some feedback today from DEA leadership, which I'll certainly take into account, and then we can have a conversation about that at our next meeting.
Okay. Any other old business? Okay. Moving on to item number 18, new business. Any new items anyone would like to bring up? I did have one that I wanted to bring up. So I think now that we are in 2025, and we have a wonderful New Jersey School Boards Association that can come and join us for trainings and the such. I would like to open it up briefly for discussion. I was thinking to perhaps have Marianne Friedman come join us at a future board meeting. Check her schedule to see if there's something that, there's a number of different trainings that she can provide to us. By the way, she came back to us, I think about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. Had the opportunity to talk with her at school boards, the workshop that is, this past October, and she's looking forward to seeing us all again. It's been a while. So just wanted to bring that up. If you know, I think it would be a great idea to have her come back and join us for a presentation. Any thoughts? Okay. And I can circulate the, list of different trainings that she has. Of course, she does ethics, she does a number of different other trainings, but I can share that after this meeting, prior to the next one. We can discuss further. All right. Any other new business? Okay. Moving on to item number 19, President's Remarks. Just to say, welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year, and let's get this year started. Moving on to public comments, any issue, any topic, item number 20. The board invites public comments on any issue topic from members of our community in accordance with Board Policy 0167. Public comment sections are intended to provide an opportunity for members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The board and administration will be taking notes during public comment, but will not provide substantive responses to questions or concerns raised by individual speakers. If necessary, the superintendent may provide a brief response after the entire public comment period is completed. The board appreciates and welcomes feedback from the community, but is not at liberty to engage in a back-and-forth dialogue with members of the public during this portion of the meeting. Prior to making your public comments, please state your name and municipality. Please note that all statements must be directed to the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone at this time if you'd like to make comments on any issue or any topic. Last call? Okay. Moving on to item number 21. So the Dunellen Board of Education will now adjourn into executive session to discuss items that fall within specific exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act, CNJSA 10-4-12B. The confidential matters discussed by the board during this executive session include items related to individual privacy, collective bargaining agreements, pending or anticipated litigation. Anything else? Purchase or lease of real property of public interest could be adversely affected. And any others? Good. Okay. All right. Any discussion that does not need to remain confidential will be made public as soon as it is practical. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. All individuals who may be discussed in executive session have been adequately notified. Action will not take place after the conclusion of the executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Move to go to exec.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we will see everyone on January 28th, 7 o'clock. We'll be back at our usual time. Starting off with executive session, and then the main session beginning at 7:30. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Happy New Year again. See you on the 28th.